Last thing I want to show you in Edulastic is if you hover on the menu on the left, you click on Insights, you can run some reports. And I mainly look at this for single assessment reports because I don't look over the entire year of all of the assessments that I've given at one time or even at a quarter, because we do give a quarterly common formative assessment. But you can kind of look through the different types of reports they offer here. They have in the single assessment category, you can look at the summary of one assessment, subgroups if you have those set up. I don't have those set up, but if I had a certain small group working on a certain skill and I assessed them on one thing, and a different group on another out of an actual overall a total assessment, then this would be where I would look at that. If I want to look at the analysis of each question, and sometimes this is really good to kind of identify if there may be some questions that just aren't good questions. One that we sometimes we think questions are awesome, and then everybody gets it wrong, and maybe it was tricky, or maybe we had said it differently in class and worded it differently on the question, and it kind of tricked them. The response frequency, the performance by standards, the performance by students. I like to look at the performance by standards because I do care a lot about standards mastery. Although we do not have standards-based grading in our gradebook, my teaching partner and I are working more towards allocating assignments towards standard in our gradebook, because that's kind of where we're measuring their success. If you want to look across multiple assessments, you can look at their performance over time, the peer progress analysis, and student progress. So if you want to just look at a kiddo and see how they've done, or if you want to look at student mastery report, if you are looking at just standards, you can look on here for that as well. And then if you want to send some information home about a student to a parent, or if you're having an ACR for a student, this might be a great place to pull some data to share with the parents. So I'm going to look at this performance by standards because this is one that I like to look at. And when I'm on here, I'm going to choose which assignment it is. I'm going to choose the one that we just did over quarter three. We did that right before break. If you look on that, most of our assignments have the name of the standard in it, and that is on purpose by design. So I'm looking at the common formative assessment that our entire district did, and this is going to show me how my classes did. So this screen right here by standard is where I'm looking at the most. I can tell you that this standard here that we did at GM2, we did not cover all of the content there, so it does make sense the students scored poorly there. The good news about that is it's more of a pre-test than a post-test, because that is content we will start to cover with our students when we return from spring break in quarter four. We did not want to give them a crash course. We kind of wanted to see what they knew instead of cramming it in really quickly before break, because that's not fair to them. It's not going to give us accurate representation in the data. And if I'm taking data for any reason, I need it to be meaningful and purposeful. So we have 5 questions for each standard, and we would like for kiddos to get 4 or 5 of them right. But if they're getting at least 3 of them, that shows that they are at least approaching mastery. And so that would be a 60%. And you can see on these 2 standards, we're pretty close, but we're not quite there. So maybe I can pull information from there to find out which students those are. And if I scroll down, I can see that. I'm not going to scroll down because I don't want to show student names. But if you look down towards the bottom, here would be where student is, and I can look by each standard and how that student performed on that standard, and if that student needs some remediation. So if I look at the summary here, this is going to show me the average score for all of my classes together. So the one class that I showed you earlier, it was an 83% average for that class. However, overall, for all of my students, the average here is shown as 56%. And this shows how many have mastered and how many have not. And this is all of the standards cumulative. It is not just one standard. So when I'm looking at this, I can see by class what the average score was, and this is for the entire common formative assessment, which includes 5 questions that were over a standard that we hadn't yet taught. This also shows me that I have 8 students that were either absent that had started on it, or they hadn't started at all. And so this is a great resource to have to go and look, and it shows you by question, and you can kind of get more data to support your findings and drive your instruction for reteach, remediation, or enrichment as needed.